sure you've noticed that Lando has feelings for me, which makes working together difficult because I do not feel the same way about him.
I got so much flack for people like, was he really them robots? Because I don't think Lando would do that. I was like, maybe he would. It's like, I don't know. But also, I stand by him. Like, there's lots of things to in space. Wednesday. Sorry. What was the word? No, community.
I'm locked out of my old kingdom. You're not. You see what I'm saying?
You're saying I could be a lawyer.
I'm saying you're a football player. It's in your blood.
That's racist.
Your soul.
That's racist.
Your eyes.
That's gay.
That's homophobic.
That's black.
That's racist.
Damn.
My whole career has been moments that I didn't realize until afterwards were like special, which I think is exactly how you want them to be. Like, you don't want to realize that. In Community, I honed a lot of skills that I didn't know were like valuable. We must have changed like sound crews like I'm not joking, like maybe every 6 weeks. I don't know why, like it just happened that way. So I would have to ADR, and I would ADR entire episodes. And I thought that was normal. Same thing with the improv thing. I thought that was television. I thought that's just what you did. They would be like, yeah, and then Donald says something funny.
I am the truest repairman!
And I was like, okay, that's Hollywood. So I would just, I think the first season I was like really nervous about it, but once I realized like, oh, you can do this again and again and again and it'll be fine, it really let me like be loose. And also I was like friends with those guys, so I didn't feel like nervous about like, we were always trying to make each other laugh. But he was like, Dan's kind of like a story expert, so he really understands story. So sometimes we wouldn't get the scripts until like the day of. I don't memorize scripts at all anymore. I haven't memorized the script since maybe college. But now I get the script, like even stuff I write or whatever, I will get it and I'll learn it in the like makeup chair. And then, so I think all of that stuff was I was just lucky that I thought that's what you had to do.
We really appreciate you doing this.
Sure.
And 3, 2, 1. Troy and Abed in the morning, and we're back. Look who's here, Jeff Winger.
Jeff, how do you stay so fit?
Diet, exercise, genetics.
We had no clue that like people were watching Community. NBC made it very clear, like they were like, this is a bomb. This show belongs in the garbage. Like they were like, well, it wasn't that. It was just like, we weren't like the cool show. Like everybody was like, Parks and Rec has all the cool people. We were kind of like, oh, I guess we're like kind of the misfits. And like, I had friends on Parks and Rec and I was like, oh, I guess we're just kind of like, this silly show like no one kind of cares about. I swear to God, it wasn't until I got to Canada. I did like a show in Canada and people were like going crazy. Like people were walking, they were like, oh, everybody wanted me to do the handshake with them. It was very intense. Like me and Danny went out for dinner at Pine and Crane, like I guess a week ago. Shit was wild. Like I was like, people acted like they would like saw a fucking Pokemon. I didn't realize people cared that much. I guess we went to Comic-Con once and it was a little crazy, like, but I was like, that's Comic-Con, that's like Nerd Central. So like I was expecting people to like be into it like that, but it is strange now, like where I'm like, oh yeah, people watch the show, especially now with like it being on like streaming. People watch it in a weekend.
Not cool. Hey, buddy. Hey, it's coming back in January. 6 seasons in a movie.
6 seasons in a movie.
The Community movie, there's some progress on it. We're supposed to be shooting it soon. Haven't seen the script, don't know. True Dan fashion, we'll probably get it on the first day. But yeah, it's supposed to be happening, but I know just as much about it as you do. Solo.
Captain Lando Calrissian.
Han Solo. Looks like you're having a good day.
I'm a lucky guy.
Can I ask you a question, Captain Calrissian?
Anything, Han?
It's Han, but that's okay.
First black man in space, bro. Lando, first black man in space. I guess does Star Trek have any black people? I guess Star Trek does. I guess like Star Trek has like a very multicultural like crew, which I guess was a big deal back then. But Lando, I guess for some reason, like people feel like this is a real black person in space. I don't know why.
You might wanna buckle up, baby.
I remember my dad showing me Star Wars and being like, yo, this is Lando. And he's, he also feels pulpy. The rest of those, the whole Skywalker family, you can't really fuck with the canon. you can have a pulpy kind of like shitty Lando novel that feels like outside of the Star Wars universe but still in it, and I think that's why people like him. He's the most elastic of the characters because you don't know where he's from or who he is or whatever. There's only really those like 3 little books. So yeah, like it was dope to play him. It was really fun.
The Calrissian Chronicles, Chapter 5, continued. Personally, I wasn't all that impressed with the Cheru. No sense of humor or style. Nonetheless, their L3 and I were deep in their sacred temple. And that's when we saw it. Always something.
I met Billy D right before I played him. I remember that day really. We met at Lil Dom's. And he was like really, just a funny guy. Like he didn't like we talked about a bunch of other stuff. Like I wanted to know like what did you feel, like all that kind of stuff. I wanted to really get into because I really didn't want to let anybody down. And I remember he was talking about like Kauai. I was like, oh, you been to Kauai? Man, I got married on Kauai. Yeah, I got married to the diamond. It was like my second one. He was talking about he had all these great stories. But I kept being like, yes, sir, but sir, like, what do I do to play? And he literally goes like, just be charming. Like he was like, just be charming. He was like, that's pretty much it. And he's like looking around. He's like, that's the secret. Like, and I was like, okay. And I guess he's right. Like he's kind of like Lando's like charm incarnate, which he's kind of a maverick, which I don't think there's a lot of anymore. Like it's hard to be like the smooth talker nowadays, because like where's the line? But I think that's also where the danger is. It's like how close can you get without tripping over it? I mean, I would love to play Lando again. It's a fun time to be him. It just has to be it just needs to be the right way to do it. I'm all about like, now it's like, like time is precious. I think everybody's like, the past couple of years, this pandemic shit like really had people experience time in a way where they're like, well, why am I should be around oranges. Like people, like people kind of realize like their time is valuable. You only get so much. So like I'm not interested in doing anything that's just gonna be like a waste of my time or just a paycheck. I'd much rather like spend time with people that I like enjoy. So it just has to be the right thing, which I think it could be. I mean, like Lando's definitely somebody I'd like to hang out with. So yeah, I mean, we're talking about it. That's as much as I can say, without Kathleen Kennedy like hunting me down. White Lotus. I'm laughing because you're just like, oh fuck, you really do have to say it though. Atlanta.
I know you probably think I'm pretty irresponsible, but I'm working on something that I think could be really big for me and you.
I guess like, you just got to be really specific. I think at the end of the day, like, we were really trying to portray like what it felt like to be us specifically. Like me and Steven have like a very like, we're brothers, so we had a very common thread, but we also were seeing different parts, and like we always sort of felt like we were like the whole show was supposed to feel like whatever, like a little bit, because that's how it felt to us anyway growing up, where it was like, oh, that happened, like, and we got to keep moving, whatever, like a little bit. And I feel like we kind of captured that.
Whoa. Hey, man. Chill.
Congratulations.
For what?
I choose you. You're my sacrifice.
My brother has my mother's sense of humor, like, even more so than me. Like, I feel like I have, like, maybe 60 my dad, 40% my mom, but he has, like, maybe 60 my mom and 40. And it's a very dark sense of humor. There's, like, a video of, a guy who had all of his teeth taken out by the dentist, and he's like, I'm gonna look like a freak now. Honest to God. And he starts crying. And I was like, whoa. And I, like, showed my brother that, and my brother must have laughed for a week. like he's like literally like he'd be like, and I'd be like, what is so funny about this? He was like, it's so horrible. Like I was like, yeah, like that's us a little bit, where we're like, yeah, this shit is horrible. So it's kind of funny because all of this is like unnecessary in the end. Not to get like too sardonic or like, but I think that is like our humor, is like, this didn't have to happen.
She said kidnapping when she called, okay? Kidnapping serious. You know that, right, Willie?
Well, I must kidnap that bitch in 1974, because she ain't been a kid in 45 years.
She in there?
No. And don't go in there, the alligator's in there.
What? Barbs?
There were a lot of guest appearances. Cree. Ugh. I love Cree. I just love her. And she's kind of like the blueprint for like crunchy black kids. So like I feel like I just love her essence, and she's just like such a subtle part of everybody's childhood because she did all those voices. Susie from Rugby. So I was just happy to hang with her.
Between you and me, I still fuck with Taken. Shit, man. Look, it's good to know that you don't hate black people now. You know.
What? No. I can't stand a lot of you. Well. Now I feel that way because you tried to ruin my career.
The Liam Neeson one was like, yo, shout out to Jordan Peele for making that happen. Yo, shout out. I was like, yo, I have this idea. And obviously Liam was like, I don't know, like I just don't, because he felt a lot of shame. He's like, I was trying to do the right thing. I was like, yeah, and in the writer's room, we had talked about, we're like, is that really the message that we want? Is like, when people actually go out on a limb and go like, I was wrong to like shit on them. We were like, we just thought it was kind of a funny like thing. And also I was like, because the lesson he's going to learn from this is like, yeah, I'm never telling the truth again. So we were like, that's really funny. You think we could get him to do, and what I love about that episode and about him is like that episode doesn't work without him. There is nobody else. Like maybe homie from Seinfeld. Yeah, like maybe him being like that. We were like, but that's not as relevant, and it's not the same. It's like Liam, like it's a different feeling. So we were like, we thought that would work, and like shout out to Jordan Peele who actually put us in contact, and shout out to Liam's son who allowed that to happen. So like that, I felt like that was a super iconic moment.
Marshal Johnson?
Yes?
You've been served.
I'm sorry, what is this about?
My name is Shaniqua Johnson of the St. Louis Johnsons. Your family owned my great-great-grandmother and father for 12 years. You owe me money.
People are gonna hate this. That's what we thought. But I think at the beginning of season 3, we have a big whiteboard in the writer's room, and at the beginning of season 3, when we all came back, I remember writing down in front of everybody, so we remembered. I was like, do what others cannot. I was like, we're the only show that can do this. And I was like, that's what's gonna make us special. Because by that point, like, honestly, like, the thing that I remember now that was in the back of my head is like, remember Rage Against the Machine? Like, I remember their first 2 albums I was so into them, and then their third one, like, they kind of like, I see what it was. It was like they kind of went back to like the hip hop roots of it. But I was like, I'm not feeling this as much as nothing. And I remember talking to my dad about it, and he was like, well, everybody else is kind of doing the rap rock thing now. So like they have to like be themselves more, and that to differentiate themselves. And I felt like that's what I kind of wanted to do. Like I was like, I just wanted to tell stories. At the end of the day, like all of this really is about like, stories. Like I'm like, who can tell the best story? Who has the best ideas? And I was like, yeah, like there are some good, it's not like the show Atlanta that people wanted, but it's the point of view of Atlanta. And I stand by, I was like, man, I think that might be, even after season 4, which people are like, this is like a perfect, but I'm like, season 3 is, I still think my favorite. Like I love the black and white episode. I love so much about that season because it doesn't make you feel like, it's not a warm hug. It's like, it's the feeling of your friend who's never left Atlanta going to like San Francisco or Paris and being like, I like it back in Atlanta. Like, it's like, I want to go back home. Like, that is the feeling. And I think a lot of people reacted that way. They were like, where's Atlanta? I want to go back home. There's a great story of like Chief Keef going to like Paris recording with Kanye. And the whole time he was like, this ain't it. He was like, this ain't it. And I'm like, yeah, like that is why you are the way you are, because you are so tied to your home. But when you come back, those chicken wings don't taste the same because you've experienced something else. Like my brother always would be like, J.R. Crickets is the shit. And then when he comes back, he's like, these taste different. It's like, yeah, you experienced something else. So I'm like, yeah, that's probably why people like season 4 a lot more. Because it's like, yeah, you're back home, but you've kind of outgrown it. Childish Gambino.
Don't be mad cause I'm doing me better than you doing you. Don't be mad cause I'm doing me better than you doing you.
Alison Brie introduced me to Ludwig. Ludwig was doing the music on Community. I remember it was weird, like, you know, it was almost like a love at first sight type moment where I remember he was in the food trailer and she's like, Donald, you gotta meet Ludwig. And he was wearing like purple pants and he was like cutting a green apple and he goes, hey, how are you? Oh, cool. He's like, I do the music. Cool. And I was like, I'm working on this kind of music thing. We should meet up. And it was very organic. I don't know why that happened. Honestly, like on most shows, you don't usually meet the composer. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, you're not, like, in most movies, you're not meeting the composer. So, like, he just happened to be around and I think we were both just interested. I was like, I love music. I was like, oh, cool. Like, you should take a look at my music. It's just a lesson to people where I'm like, yeah, like, it's not about like chasing opportunity. It's like, don't be afraid of like yourself. I feel like if I was like, oh, no one should listen to this music. I was like, no, you should. I was like, you should check this out. I want to know what you think. And that's kind of what happened. And then, like, you know, we just have me and Ludwig have like amazing chemistry. That's the only way I can put it. Like, he's like such a weirdo in the best sense. I wish you guys could hear the first version of Redbone. It was so weird. Like, it was such a weird, I was actually listening to it the other day. I was like, what a weird song this was. And then we like cleaned it and we were like, oh, yeah. This is America. Just be real. Like, we did, you know, time is the oven that makes something special, but we did a lot of work. I had that idea like 3 years before, and I told Hero the idea. He's like, man, he's like, I want to do that. He's like, I really want to do that. And I was like, cool. And I had the song. And I swear to God, like, it started as the idea for the song started as a joke. To be completely honest, like, this is America, like, that was all we had, was like that line.
This is America. Don't got you slipping up. Look how I'm living up.
And it started as a Drake diss, to be honest. It's like, I was like, as like a funny way of like doing it, but then I was like, this shit sounds kind of hard though, you know? So I was like, let me play with it. So we just had that for a long time. I told Hero the idea and he was like, oh, let's do it. And honestly, we studied Thriller for a long time because I was like, how do you make people care about anything anymore? There's just so much shit. Well, you have to have a moment in real time, which was like SNL, which like Fam and Chad, Wolf and Rothstein, like, we're like, okay, we're gonna do this SNL thing. We'll drop it at midnight. Also, like, the feeling of like what was happening at the time, where I was like, oh, it informed, like, because, you know, of all the uprisings and riots that were happening, like, it really informed like my writing and stuff. And then I was like, oh, I really, you know, I was like having sessions with like, you know, Thug and all these people, and I was like, hey, would you want to get on that? And I was like, you know, like, making it like a We Are the World, like, for trap. I was like, it just became something where I was like, yo, it needs to feel like all of it. To me, culture is just compression of information. So I was like, all of it just needs to be compressed into this moment. So what was happening needed to feel like it could only be happening right now. We shot it on film that was deliberate. Like, we were like, oh, 2 takes. Like, kind of literally 1 shot. Like, we were like, let's just do it like 2, because it's really 3 shots. It's like that first half, that second half, and then the running. We were like, it needed to feel continuous because it needed to feel like a moment, because moments, I feel like the internet kind of robs moments. So that was really the work that we put in. I feel very, it's interesting that it worked. We were like, oh man, it probably wasn't gonna work. But we really just studied Thriller a lot. We studied how that became iconic, and I was like, oh, well, you know, you have to do a lot of things the first time, and I was like, but Thriller was like a big important part. You know who I did a lot of research on that people don't probably think I did, but I actually watched his moves a lot to make sure I didn't do the exact same thing, was like Robbie Williams. I actually watched him a lot because like I saw him get a lot of hate. And he's not necessarily an actor, but like, you know, mostly multidisciplinary like people, you know, I call it a vent. You need a vent. You need some steam to like let something off because people like, you know, Stevie Wonder, amazing, genius, but people are like, but he's blind. So that's the vent, you know, like same thing with Prince. He's like, oh, but he's short. Like, it's like, oh, but like there's something where, you know, you want to give people a vent to be able to, and I knew that wasn't gonna be easy, but I also was like, but also I think that there's an older generation. I think a lot of things have changed because it used to be about access. So it'd be like, if you had access to be able to make stuff and then you happened to be good, it was different. Now everyone has access. So, and it's way easier to make all these things. It's way easier to make music, you know. We're always racing towards very good ideas. That's all it matters at the end of the day. And I think the idea of like this person not being great at other stuff is an old idea of just like, yeah, Elvis couldn't be a great actor necessarily because he was focusing so much. Making music took a lot more. But now it's like all that stuff is happening. All those things are the same anyway. So I feel like, yeah, like somebody had to do it. And it wasn't like I was like, I'm the one to do it. I think I honestly I didn't want to stop doing that other stuff. It was like way too much fun. And I had learned like, yo, if you're like living for other people, you're probably going to end up being sad, which is like, what's the point?